The truth is darker than fiction. Real psychic kids, secret labs, and government experiments that sound like Stranger Things, but actually happened. Programs like Project Stargate and MK-Ultra weren't sci-fi. They were real, and what they uncovered still raises chilling questions. In this episode, inspired by Stranger Things, we're diving into that eerie space where conspiracy meets reality. Cold War paranoia, CIA mind control, and rumored time portals hidden in military bases. These were the real-world shadows behind the show, and now we'll use tarot to uncover what still lingers. These questions explore whether these programs unlocked true paranormal forces and what their legacy might mean today. Let's see what the cards reveal. Hello everybody, welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time on this channel. We're going to hop right in. This is a longer than usual episode. So we're hopping right in with question 1. What was the government truly seeking through paranormal research? Was it looking for truth or control, defense, something darker maybe? So let's see, we're starting with the Oracle and we'll move on with Tarot for more information. All right, what was the government truly seeking through paranormal research? So we have Legally Blonde. And I am going to get another card here. That one's not jumping out at me with meaning at the moment. New start. Okay. I think what it's saying with Legally Blonde is the research started out very simply. A very simple program, just trying to find a little bit of information about paranormal things. And as time went on, it looks like it got more complicated. The research picked up and it became more complicated than it was at the beginning. This meant that the research ended up having to start all over again as more questions were asked and more things became complex. They had to restart their research. Start it from the very beginning again. Then we have Teach Your Children. This was how they thought that they were going to figure out how to build humanity's future. They thought by finding the answers, like with natural law and things like that, with finding the answers, they would be able to shape whatever direction that humanity was going to go. Airport. This was also their way of trying to understand exactly how energy works. A lot of experiments that didn't always come out really well. With Airport, obviously it's a downed plane, and you know, don't think that this research did not involve real life things, because it did. We have the Blues Brothers, Pushover, and 2012. These government people, allegedly, really do believe that they're on a mission from God. And I do the quotes there because not sure where their allegiances lie. At any rate, Yeah, they think they're on a mission and that, they are entitled to actually do this kind of research no matter what it costs. And according to them, we're very easy to experiment on with pushover because we don't really fight back. They've even, I think, experimented with ending the world, or at least, well, in 2012, in the movie 2012, obviously the population was totally scrunched down because only so many people could fit on those boats. All the rest of everybody, I believe, ended up not making it. And if they did, they didn't have much of a world to work with. So, what was the government truly seeking through paranormal research? As always, it seems as though it's a way to basically destroy humanity. It always seems to come down to that. Always destroying humanity. So let's see what tarot has to add to this. And I think they really, really want to be able to control energy in every way, shape, or form. If you control energy, you control everything. So let's see where this goes. All right, so with Legally Blonde, we have the Devil. It came down to, with the Devil, they learned as time went on. It started simple and then got more complex. And they learned as time went on that they could control power. They could take the power should they choose. And I'm not talking specifically energy here, but energy too. We're talking humanity's power. Justice. Yeah, starting over was probably necessary because there was a lot of things that they learned after the simple start that they needed answers to that were more complicated than they thought in the very beginning. So they had to restart the research. King of Strands, or King of Wands. We're back to the energy and power. So the whole point here is literally power. How to build humanity's future their way. Their way, not the way we would like it done. Three of Dice or Three of Swords. Yeah, they don't really care what casualties may take place, like an airport. They don't care. It is a way for them to increase their mind power, increase their knowledge, and they don't care who it hurts or betrays. Knight of Dice, which is the Knight of Swords. Somebody gets an idea. The creepier it is, the more active they become. And again, they believe they're on a mission from God. So, and that they will never get caught for the things that they do to humanity in their research. And then we have the Two of Dice or Two of Swords. So many decisions to make as to how to do things with their research to people. We're easy. Easy targets. And the Ace of Scoops or Ace of Pentacles. There are a lot of things that they want to learn how to do to the earth to, I don't know, maybe start a fire and see what comes of that. How fast things grow back. This is not paranormal research, but using certain types of energies, certain spells, paranormal things to see what happens. So let's say there's a fire and it does its burning. How hot can they actually make it burn? Once it's put out, how fast, using spells and that kind of thing, can they make the growth begin again? This is all paranormal stuff. It's energy, all related to energy. So let us pick these up and see where else we're going with this. And if you're new to my channel, you'll see my way of picking up the cards is a little bit slow. First reason, at least with the Stranger Things deck, is that the card stock is very thick and doesn't shuffle well. So this is one way of making sure that we don't get those cards back over and over and over again that were just down here. But also, if we get repeats, we know that they're meant to come out. And it isn't just because I did a bad job shuffling. All right, almost to question 2 here. So, in essence, what was the government truly seeking through paranormal research? And it comes down to being in total control of the earth, humanity, and energy. All right. Question 2. What type of paranormal study marked the beginning of this involvement? So we're trying to determine if what started them into the paranormal was psychic or dimensional or alien or something like that. What type of paranormal study marked the beginning of the government's involvement, allegedly? Lucky. A lucky happenstance, a lucky coincidence, even though I don't believe in coincidence. Almost as though they were in the right place at the right time to see something specific. Let's see where this goes. Oops. There it is again, Legally Blonde. I think they saw some kind of very simple experiment. And that's, again, being in the right place at the right time. That's what made them start thinking this might be a good thing to look into. There's pushover again. Okay, so again, we covered the fact that, you know, we're very easy to work with. And as it says on the card here, a story of temptation. They couldn't resist. They couldn't resist. Wonder if it'll tell us what that might have been. Another one bites the dust. I'm wondering if they saw some kind of an ancient ritual somewhere that maybe it took a person and had them act like a zombie or something like that. Or maybe even something as simple as, well, again, simple, something as simple as hypnotism, hypnosis show or something. And it brought the idea to one of these government people and to see if they could stretch it farther And perhaps the show that they saw, the hypnosis show that they saw, was where somebody, again, was made to act like a zombie, be a zombie, something like that. And it just brought forth, hey, I think there's more that we can do with this. Africa. New direction. And black and white. Yeah, they definitely knew that there was more possibilities once this was seen and discussed, and more possibilities. And they decided to take this simple thing that they found and go in a whole new direction. They wanted to do the experiments and get the results. Do the experiments and get the results. They did not want any in between. Oh no. They didn't want any gray area to make what they were doing unsure. In other words, they wanted answers in a very, very logical way, but then more complex. Not the simple, nothing simple. So let's see where tarot goes with this. They could have even witnessed a death with Another One Bites the Dust. So that's kind of speculative. We really don't know what they witnessed that, you know, made them decide that paranormal study was a good idea. Okay, so we have the Chariot. Yeah, this was the, if you can call it, for them, it was a lucky day that started them on the path of the lab that we see in Hawkins and Stranger Things. Six of Dice, or Six of Swords. Here there be monsters. Yeah, I don't think it was considered before then, before they saw this. But as soon as they saw this, it was a whole new path to take. They left whatever they were doing previously behind and moved forward with this. Temperance with pushover. It was very hard for them to control themselves when it came to us. We were so tempting, and they literally had to force themselves to, or have had to force themselves, allegedly, to balance things a little bit so they don't wipe us all out before they get all their research covered. Seven of Dice, or Seven of Swords. Yeah, we don't have a clue really what they saw with Another One Bites the Dust. It could have been the hypnosis show, but whatever it was, it gave them a major idea that they decided to go forward with. King of Strands, or King of Wands. Here it is again, only instead of up here, it's down here. And they wanted to find greater truths, do the paranormal research, and they definitely have the resources to do that. And it does seem to be run by one specific person. Two of Spokes, or Two of Cups. The new direction is messing with humanity. Doing their best to perhaps somehow split us apart. Even if we're an individual, to split an individual apart, find out how each individual person works. Again, pushover. Ten of Spokes, or Ten of Cups. Yeah, their biggest goal is to find out what makes the emotion. Emotion is what can make like telekinesis super strong. If you think about Stranger Things, if you've seen the show and you think about Stranger Things and how powerful Elle got when her emotions were really in full swing, that's where they're at. That's what they want. It's to find out how to control the emotions, people's emotions. So let us pick this up and move on to question 3. Never really sounds good for humanity, does it? There's an experiment. Oh, geez. Yeah. Run and hide. Okay. I was kidding on that, by the way. Okay. In other words, the running and hiding thing. Oh. Cards want to slide away from me. All right, so question 3. What method or technique did they use that crossed ethical or metaphysical lines? This ought to be interesting. Independence Day. What method or technique did they use that crossed ethical or metaphysical lines? This could go a number of ways with Independence Day, so let's see where the second card takes it. Taking care of business. I think what they're saying here is the very first thing that they seem to hit the emotions with, since emotions is the huge part of their paranormal research, the way it looks, is to bring out the aliens are going to invade. Invasion of the aliens. And to them, this was just a fun game. They were just doing their work, doing their job, taking care of business. But yeah, this is making people afraid because they think, there truly was an invasion. And it makes me wonder if perhaps who was that? The radio broadcast from long ago. It was just a show, a radio broadcast, just an entertaining show on the radio. Only it was so convincing that people really thought an alien invasion was taking place. They were terrified. And I'm beginning to wonder if that was a start to this. Dragonfly. Yeah, alien invasion, threatening death. This is just all business to them. These are, to them, it's not crossing any kind of ethical lines. It's just business. Almost losing the whole deck. Catch it. There we go. The Green Mile. Yeah, I think probably death is the main line here. They have an electric chair in the Green Mile here. There's an electric chair. And Dragonfly is about death, being on the other side of the veil. So I'm thinking that their ethical issue is about death, and kind of turning it into some kind of metaphysical something. If you have any kind of special power, if you're able to read people's minds, if you can see spirits, if you talk to aliens, if you can predict the future or see things that have happened in the past, these are the people they want to go after. And again, ethically, they don't care if these people pass. So we have family, circle of life, and me and you and a dog named Boo. They will threaten the family. So I'd say that's kind of an ethical line crossed. Threaten the family of these people who have these special talents. And I feel as though they will take a certain person in the family, the one that has the gift, and they will do the experiments they want to do on that person to find out whatever it is that they want to find out. And then they will test other members of the family, other generations of the family, to see if they also have. So if they wipe out an entire family, no skin off their nose. So in other words, basically with me and you and a dog named Boo, there ended the freedom. Any kind of freedom that people might have when the paranormal research began. Anybody too who could speak to their spirit guides or anything like that, because me and you and a dog named Boo always makes me think of spirit guides that kind of go along with you for the ride from birth until death. That's what that reminds me of as well. So let's see what tarot has to add. So there's been more than one ethical line crossed, metaphysical line crossed here. Probably too many to name. So death. Again, we had this conversation. Normally this is a card that means transformation, and it did transform things for them when they started discovering that fear was a very powerful thing that could be used. And fear of death was one of the main strengths. Fear of death made them strong. Then we have the High Priestess. Yep, anybody that had any kind of mysterious power or claim to. Two of Spokes or Two of Cups. Being able to connect back with loved ones. Yep. Eight of Dice or Eight of Swords. This is how they kept these people feeling trapped, as though they were victims, as though they were tied or caged or something. This is how they kept them trapped. Using family for one, but also, you know, think about the word death in this electric chair. If you don't do what we want, we have this chair here. Ace of Spokes or Ace of Cups. Yeah, when there's love involved with family, if there's children in there, that kind of thing, then what they can pull because of people's love can be manipulated in many, many, many different ways. The Nine of Spokes or Nine of Cups. It's the Wish card. Also the card of hope. And I think as they were experimenting and they were going through the different generations as they could, I really think they had, you know, a hope to find some kind of connection. And again, it didn't matter what kind of line they crossed. And then we have the Seven of Strands or Seven of Wands. This is a card of defending oneself. I feel like they made them feel as though no defense would do any good. They had too many things over their heads. Too many things over their heads. So let us pick up and move on to question 4. If you are new to this channel, you may also have never heard me mention my Chihuahua. I have a Chihuahua who really enjoys snoring during my recordings. I think it's his way of letting me know that, hey, I'm not real thrilled with what you're doing because you're not spending time with me. So there's times that he will snore extremely loudly, and you will be hearing that on the recording. Currently, he is in the other room. However, I can hear him snoring even in there. So I'm pretty sure it's probably picking up on the microphone. So anyway, if you hear strange noises in the background, that is what you're hearing, is my Chihuahua. All right. Moving on to question 4. How have the public been misled or manipulated regarding these programs? I don't use jumpers in these readings. Okay. How have the public been misled or manipulated regarding these programs? Little Willie. I feel like we've been told that what they're doing is eventually going to be good for us. We should be celebrating what they're learning. That's what I feel like that's saying. The fog. Yeah, when in truth, there's no truth to this. No truth whatsoever. They also obviously will leave us in the fog as much as possible, giving us as little information as possible about anything that is being done, especially if it's being done to members of the human race. Running on empty. This is a card that says we can know the truth, despite, the baloney that we're being fed or the things that we're not being told. We can know the truth because there's always something giving us signs. We just don't slow down enough to really pay attention to the signs, but we have protection from beyond the veil, our guides, our angels, even, otherworldly beings, that kind of thing, that give us signs to help us understand what is going on and sometimes how to get information or how to find the truth. And as we can see here, we've got somebody's knocking. Somebody's knocking. And so with running on empty, this can also go back to what we were saying with they're not telling us the truth, because we're looking for how have the public been misled or manipulated regarding these programs. So we're told that they're doing something really good, and that's cause for celebration. We've heard those words. But they're not giving us anything. They're not really telling us any of the truth whatsoever. And they're telling us to trust what they're doing. Trust what they're doing. But then, when they come knocking on your door, the night they drove old Dixie down, there's the Blues Brothers again, and Michael. So it is nothing for them to, in the plan that they are doing, is to break somebody down, bring them back up. Break somebody down, bring them back up. And that's kind of what is done to humanity. It is because the yo-yo effect keeps us in hypnosis mode. Okay? They don't think they'll ever get caught because, again, they believe that what they're doing, they're supposed to be doing. And doesn't matter what happens to us. They just are very certain that they're supposed to be doing all of this. Keeping in mind, for humanity, okay, as I said up here, this card had two meanings. This is one where if we slow down and we pay attention to the signs that we're given, these signs will come from our angels. And if you remember me and you and a dog named Boo right before this in the same position, our spirit guides, otherworldly beings, they're there to help us sort through the fog. If we're willing, if we really want to know. So let's see where tarot goes with this. Ooh. These cards don't shuffle very well. All right. We have the Seven of Dice or Seven of Swords. They don't tell us what they're doing. The thief comes, steals the swords. Why? Nobody knows. But we should trust what they're doing. We should celebrate what they're doing because you can guarantee the reason that they stole the swords was because they're doing something good with them. The Star. They tell us what they believe we want to hear. And oftentimes it's made to look like it's hopeful. As a for instance, oh, there might be a cause or might be a cure for cancer now. We may have found it. Our scientists may have found it. But that's only a front for what is actually being done. Eight of Scoops or Eight of Pentacles. They just keep doing it. They keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. The experiments are endless. But again, we can have heads up if we really want heads up. Ten of Spokes or Ten of Cups. Again, this is knocking and finding the right person to determine exactly how our emotion affects energy. They want control over that. Ten of Scoops or Ten of Pentacles. Yep, they don't care if they destroy all of humanity. Makes no difference to them. Six of Strands or Six of Wands. They're very, very okay with what they're doing. They feel very harmonious with what they're doing. No guilt, no nothing. Page of Scoops or Page of Pentacles. These are the messengers. These are the messengers that we have in life, is our angels and our spirit guides and otherworldly beings, those people who can help us from wherever they are if we're interested. And again, we have to slow down and pay attention if that's what we really want. But we have been kept in the fog. as much as possible. And it's been said that, we are considered to be too simple, going back to Legally Blonde, to comprehend anything that they're doing. When in fact, we really are much more intelligent than that. But they keep us guessing. So we oftentimes don't even really know what is going on, which is why the signs are very important to us that we're given by our spirit team. All right, so moving on to question 5. Did experiments under Project Stargate truly awaken psychic or remote viewing abilities? Did experiments under Project Stargate truly awaken psychic or remote viewing abilities? Lord of the Rings. So they wanted to be able to use remote viewing and psychic ability and telepathy and precognition. That kind of thing was what Project Stargate was about. And it was meant for, obviously, military situations, intelligence situations, that kind of thing. Also, perhaps building AI and things like that. So, did experiments under Project Stargate truly awaken psychic or remote viewing? I think they were able to see into the past. I think that was possible. And also perhaps reach other beings that could not be reached otherwise. Don't look back. This was also about being able to talk to spirit, I think, because spirit would have answers. Or be able to fill in the blanks, perhaps, with things. They might even be able to see into the future. Teach your children. Here we go again. This was, again, something... Excuse me a moment. Going back into the past to ancestors on Earth, okay? This was way past, maybe not necessarily ancestors, just different time periods. This would have been beyond the veil or past loved ones. This would be ancestors way back. Oh, and don't forget different creatures, fairies and gnomes, things like that that are supposed to be myth. And all for the love of money. It might have been, supposed to be specifically for intelligence and military, but it all comes down to money. Somebody's knocking again. I've never been to me. Hunger Games. A lot of money was actually put into the Project Stargate. I can't remember the amount, but it went on from like 1977 to 1995 is what we are told. I don't know. I think it might still be happening and just under some other name. But anyway, a lot of money has actually gone into it for corruptive reasons, allegedly. Not necessarily just for curiosity's sake, for paranormal research sake, okay? the temptation of it. Anytime they hear something new or discover something new, the temptation is just they can't take it. They have to throw more money in it and explore it. It has to be explored until it comes right down to making the people who have these abilities, they just don't even know where they've been or what they've seen or anything. It says, I've never been to me. They have no idea a lot of times who they are anymore, but they're made to do it. When their door is knocked on, when, something is said that, hey, we heard you can do this, we need your help with this program, you don't have a choice. And they have control. They put you in the game, and that's where you're at. Whoa. Just a moment. Drop the card. I'm thinking they did get information too, or they wouldn't have kept pouring money into it. I think they discovered a lot of things because they had the money to put into it, and they didn't care what or who they sacrificed in finding the information that they wanted. So let's see what tarot has to add here. Ace of Dice. Or Ace of Swords. Somebody could say, I want you to remote view today on fairies. Where do fairies live? If that's how, or that would be the target. Yeah, I can't remember for sure how remote viewing works. Somebody writes something on a piece of paper and I don't know. Anyway, so there was unlimited potential for the ideas that these people could remote view or do precognitive work or telepathy. There just was no limit to it. King of Scoops. They took those who were most powerful or well-known, at least somewhat well-known. They didn't want to take anybody off the market who was very well known in the public eye. So they would take the next best, but they would still be really, really good at being able to communicate beyond the veil. Queen of Strands. Or Queen of Wands. They also would take those who were very, very much attached to their ancestral, well, we'll just say to their ancestors. Very much in line with how their ancestors lived, whether it be herbal medicine or rituals, that kind of thing. They would go knocking for them as well, because certainly they were somehow channeling their ancestors is how they were thinking of this. Five of Spokes or Five of Cups. The amount of money that it takes to disrupt the human emotion. Remember in the past questions, we were seeing that they want to have control over the power of emotion because it can break someone down, it can take them up. The energy of emotion changes the frequency, changes vibration. And they want to make sure with this money that they figure out how to make life as chaotic as possible or our emotions as chaotic as possible, because that's where control lies. They were discovering that the emotion helped. Chaotic emotion helped. The Star, again, they wanted to find that one individual, that one star that could change the whole project. And, you know, in maybe each and every one of these categories, maybe they needed a star for each one, not caring what would happen to them after a period of time. They would work them and work their minds until they just had nothing left. The high priestess, yeah, they want to find, at the expense of people that they're testing, they want to find that one particular powerful individual, like L. Four of dice or four of swords. Yep, that's another death card. So think of Hunger Games if you've seen the movie and what it's about, and they didn't care. They worked people until they found some of what they were looking for. Now, whether or not it was as powerful as they hoped, I don't know. Doesn't say in here yet. All right, so we are picking up and moving on to question 6. And if you're enjoying my content, please feel free to like and subscribe. Also, share with other people that you think would be interested in this content. And most importantly, please comment. If you're seeing something in the cards that I'm maybe missing, oh, I would love to know what that is. I would love to see what you are seeing. And again, there could be messages in here specifically for you too. So if you're seeing something different, pay attention to what that might be. All right, now moving on to question 6. Did MK-Ultra experiments, there it is again, succeed in altering consciousness or producing superhuman subjects? Now again, we're back to Stranger Things and we're looking at 11, okay? And she had superhuman powers, right? So let's see if MK-Ultra actually did alter consciousness enough for creating people that were very powerful or are very powerful. Another one bites the dust. Yeah, I think there are people. It's saying manipulative powers here. I think there definitely are people with superhuman powers, but I don't feel as though they live very long after everything that they go through and how much brain power is actually being used. But they didn't care. They could find another subject in the shop around the corner. So if one kicked off, they had a whole slew of other candidates. The Patriot. Yeah, there's always one like 11. And if you think about the Patriot, he was considered the ghost. He was like the most powerful soldier or patriot in the beginning. He did a lot of his own revenge in the beginning. So there's always one that is super powerful, and I think that, you know, they found one and eventually more than one, but they didn't care who they, you know, got rid of or who didn't make it. They always had another plan, another person that they could do. And I think at times they might have had to eliminate someone they brought in because they became too powerful. Here we have Hunger Games again. Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey. Too much time on my hands. Yeah, if you remember, they did the lottery in Hunger Games to choose the people that they were going to take for the games. In a way, I feel as though they have people that are willing to do anything to find these specific people that they can alter their consciousness, or they can, they become superhuman. It is literally considered absolutely absurd. Nobody is actually superhuman. That's just in the movies and things like that. And that's kind of what they count on. Excuse me. That's kind of what they count on, is that we're not paying attention. They can say or do anything and we're not paying attention. So even if they found somebody or created somebody that was superhuman, as they did with 11, then we wouldn't notice. Most people wouldn't notice because they're too disconnected to life. Don't want to know. So let's see what tarot has to add. All right, we have 10 of spokes, so 10 of cups. Yep. They have no emotion. They just, it's complete emotion. They use that with these people to the point where they're beyond exhausted. And it doesn't take, I don't think it takes long for them to be out of the picture. 6 of dice. Here there be monsters. So this is 6 of swords. They just go across the water to the next town or whatever and find somebody to replace. They have their list. 3 of spokes or 3 of swords, or excuse me, 3 of cups. The celebration that they have when they find somebody that powerful. It is definitely something to celebrate for them. And they do for a while. This person doesn't get to celebrate, but whoever's in charge of all this, oh yes. 5 of dice or 5 of swords. They're out there looking, this gun for hire, they're out there looking for those with a chaotic mind. For some reason, chaotic minds, number one, are more manipulative, or, easily manipulated. And that probably also means they have chaotic emotion. Put the two together, the energy is incredible. 7 of dice. Yeah, we don't know for sure what they're doing with these, the Hunger Games candidates. We don't know what they're going through for sure. We don't know what the experiments actually are, but it does have to do with altering their consciousness, again, making it as chaotic as possible, and producing superhuman individuals like 11. And we have the 7 of scoops or 7 of pentacles. Even if we're told straightforward, even if they plant the seed in our minds that this is a possible thing, many people are like, that's absurd. Just whatever, that's absurd. And they just truly would rather not know. And with the Ace of Strands or Ace of Wands, they have so many ways to distract us. So many ways to pull our attention away from the things that they are doing paranormally and through consciousness, creating superhuman individuals, that kind of thing. They have so many ways to distract us away from it. Look over here, not over here. But again, we still have our spirit teams sending signs if we're willing to slow down and pay attention and even ask for those signs. All right, so let us pick up here and move on to question 7. So yeah, I think they are making superhuman, or have made, discovered superhuman powers, superhuman people. When one bites the dust, they just go find another. Start the work again. So no one is, don't know what the word is. We're all disposable. Anyway, question 7. Was something beyond space-time accessed through Montauk-style experimentation? So they were doing portals and timeline interference and altered states. So was there actually something accessed not in this dimension? And Stranger Things was actually, my understanding, was actually based on the Montauk Project. That's where the upside down came into the picture. So we have radio. That's a frequency. So I'm going to say that they tapped into a specific frequency and were perhaps able to communicate. Kung Fu fighting. It was a focused frequency. Circle of life. I'm thinking they must have tapped into, I'm thinking they tapped into, one was a dimension that still lived in the old days, still lived with spinning wheels and things like that, rather than probably no modern technology. I don't think that was actually what they were looking for, though. But it would give them a lot more people to experiment on, right? Shambhala. I think they also may have been able to tap into what would be termed heaven, perhaps. Someplace like heaven they were able to tap into. National Treasure. Night at the Museum. And They Live. They may have also attempted to get information or find a location where they could get gold. National Treasure was about finding the treasure, okay, where they could find gold. I feel like they actually did go through some places that had very interesting creatures, very interesting things going on in history, so to speak. And I think they probably ran into some not so wonderful individuals. Some of these may have come back through. When we look at They Live, that's a huge possibility. that they accessed, yeah, I think they accessed a lot of different places, different things, but some may have come back. I don't know. See what the tarot has to share. The Emperor. I feel like there was a main person that was able to find this frequency. One specific person. That's what it feels like. A very integral part of going to these different places, the portals, the different timelines, being able to have that altered state of consciousness. I feel it might have been a struggle at first, a fight, and still to some degree, even, I mean, I think they had to use some pretty intense threats on this person. The Devil. Yeah, this was a place that they may have actually requested this person find so that they had more test subjects whenever needed. Three of Spokes or Three of Cups. If in fact this was heaven, that was a lot to celebrate. It was a beautiful place, not necessarily the place where the people doing this testing wanted or want to be. However, to those who have been experimented on, it was good to know that it existed. Queen of Strands with National Treasure. This was their energy. Their energy was all about what they could find that could make them rich. So if they found a portal to another world, somewhere in the government, they were going to be rewarded well for that. The Hierophant. I think they were very, very surprised at everything that they were able to, that these people, this person was able to discover, the places that they were able to go. All they had to do was give this person a little bit of space, a little bit of quiet, a little bit of, kind of like they did with 11. If they gave her space, her quiet, her static, she could tune in to a lot of different places. And she did. I think she whoever this is, tuned into a lot of different places. And at their request, maybe for, not knowing why this person is still, cooperating, knowing that the things that they're finding, are going to be used for nefarious reasons, like this circle of life. It's like, we just need more fodder for our testing. And, who knows how this person is treated. I would think that if they are really good at what they do, they would treat them very, very well, keep them healthy, and, so that there's energy and that kind of thing. But haven't seen anything like that as yet, that they even care about that person. All right, so let us move on to question 8. Can't remember if I told you there's 14 questions in this episode, so it is kind of an extra long one. Stay. All right. So question 8, what were the psychological, societal, or energetic side effects of these experiments? So wants to know who paid the price and what still lingers today. What were the psychological, societal, or energetic side effects of these experiments? Too much time on my hands. That is something we may never know. Mainly because they know how to keep us distracted or disconnected so that we really don't care one way or another what they are doing or have done. That's, of course, not all of us, but many. National treasure. Whatever they have done that they don't want us to know, you can guarantee it's done for money. Everything seems to be done for money. Those with money have power, right? Night at the museum again. Wow. Okay. They were able to, or have been able to, through these experiments, I think, change history to some degree. The Night at the Museum it's kind of a history museum. It has the Tyrannosaurus Rex and bones. It talks about Genghis Khan. Yeah. So I think they were able to, or they're able to do history changes. Oh, I was supposed to, goodness. Okay. And it's all business to them. There is nothing, they feel there is nothing wrong with what they are doing, which makes total sense to them. The Butcher's Wife, Demolition Man, and Patch Adams. So, psychologically, I think many of the people that they dealt with or that were part of these tests, if they survived, I think they became two different people. In other words, possibly schizophrenic or some other mental issue going on where they didn't really know who they were. Some came out with more violent tendencies than previously. And some came out with no compassion left. No compassion. Again, these are ones who survived. These were side effects that, from the testing that was done, these were side effects. Is these split personalities and the violence. And, on the other hand, some came out with absolutely no fight left in them, so to speak. You have real violence and others. And then you also had people who had no compassion left, but then you have, the other half was like nothing but compassion. So let's see what tarot has to add. We have the Moon. Yeah, we're always told half-truths. So we can be distracted. We believe, we've been distracted so long, we believe pretty much everything we hear. And they were able to search the world through these, and other worlds, I believe, through these experiments, that it was a never-ending supply of money that they had because of it. The Empress with Night at the Museum, whatever they could create for history, they did. They could change it. They could create whatever story that they wished. Knight of Strands or Knight of Wands. Yeah, they're just energetic knights doing their job. That's what they do. They don't worry about risk. If it looks good, let's go. 10 of Strands or 10 of Wands. Yeah, the brain energy just... The brain energy, it was too much spark, too much electricity going through the brain. Ended up, again, causing schizophrenia. And if you have seen the movie Stranger Things, this is Joyce writing an alphabet on the wall so that the person she thinks is Will can communicate with her with those lights. People thought she was off her rocker. 2 of Strands or 2 of Wands. 2 different kinds of energies. Violent, not violent. And 5 of Scoops or 5 of Pentacles. The way a person, the chaos within the individuals, the chaos, again, sent them different ways. Some people, the chaos was just too much and they just, can't be nice to other people. They're grumpy all the time. Their frequencies are low. It's just not good. And then others, it's like, I can't allow this to beat me. I can't allow this to beat me. I'm going to keep my frequency high. I'm going to laugh a lot. I'm not going to have this chaotic life. So it affects people differently. And some, just rather would not know about it. So they remain with too much time on their hands. They really don't care. They'll sit and stare at their phones, sit and stare at the television, soak in every amount of everything, believe pretty much everything that they're being fed, when all around them things are happening. History is changing and worlds are being robbed. People are being sent to mental facilities because they can't cope. Yeah, anyway, so those are some of the side effects that have taken place through this experimentation. Moving on to question 9. Was there a deeper, possibly non-human intelligence influencing this research? We saw the They Live card a couple of times, if I recall correctly. Was there a deeper, possibly non-human intelligence influencing this research? A mystical one. One that was dangerous to humanity is the way that it looks. Very, very detailed beings. Don't miss a beat. See everything. Definitely know how to map a human mind. Again, there's that circle of life. I think they've been doing this for a long, long time. Not just for like the last 100 years. It's been a long, long time. There's that national treasure again. Yep. So there is definitely, in my opinion, according to the cards, there's definitely a non-human intelligence influencing this research, but it's also working with the privileged. Material world, vertigo, and fear. So yeah, working with the privileged, with our world, our material world, accessing things and places that they probably shouldn't access. And fear is one of the biggest things that they have to contribute to the human race, is fear. And the way it looks, we probably should be afraid of them, this non-human intelligence. Let's see what tarot adds. Ace of Spokes or Ace of Cups. I think these beings have studied the human race and know exactly how to hit individual people's emotions. King of Spokes or King of Cups. Yep. They are powerful in that way. They know it isn't just one emotion that they can work with. They have studied every possible emotion a human can have. They're detail-oriented beyond. Strength. Yeah, because of that, they've had the strength. Because of these non-human people, non-human beings, human privileged have had the strength to do this for a long time. Seven of Spokes or Seven of Cups. There's many privileged involved with this, involved with these non-human beings. And with the Ten of Wands, in controlling our world, in using all of the energy of our world, driving us kind of nuts. Page of Strands. Yeah, they don't have any issue exploring or learning about other places. It doesn't affect them. The energy affects us. Nine of Spokes or Nine of Cups. It is the dynamic energy that fear can bring. It's like using the fear to light up the light bulbs. Somehow these non-human individuals know how to use the power of humans because they've studied us so hard that they could probably light their entire planet or wherever they're from, should they wish to, or feed off of that energy for a long, long time. Feed off of human energy for a long, long time. So we'll be moving on to number 10 here in just a minute. Stay. All right, number 10. Who continues to observe or monitor paranormal phenomena today? Now, this is making it sound like these experiments aren't being done anymore. Personally, I do not believe that, but we'll go with it. Who continues to observe or monitor paranormal phenomena today? Look at that. They live. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, right? We're talking about those non-human beings that we were just talking about in the last question. Sometimes these cards blow my mind. Very cold, cold individuals. I don't really believe a heart is part of them. Yep, we're watching the heart float away with release. They do not have a heart. They are very cold-hearted individuals, and they do continue to either test or just monitor. I don't know. Take the money and run. And they do it with the help of the privileged here. Oops. This gun for hire. Signs. 1408. I think they still go after people for more experimentation. I think that there are ways that these privileged communicate the things that they find, the things that they do. And I think a lot of it is still quite a nightmare. The paranormal things that they do to those that they still get in the guise of testing, I think is horrifying. So let's see what Tarot has to add. Remember, the question was, who continues to observe or monitor paranormal phenomena today? The Moon. And these are ones we only see in half light. If we don't have the sunglasses, we don't see who they are. King of Strands. The energy that they put off, these beings, is very, very cold. And that's the only energy they have. Six of Spokes, or Six of Cups. I think once upon a time they did have hearts. I think they did. But it's long gone. Page of Scoops, or Page of Pentacles. It literally is all about the privileged. If you're up and coming and new, you've got a lot coming your way. Three of Strands, or Three of Wands. Yeah, the plan has continued. They are still doing it. Seven of Strands, or Seven of Wands. There's a defense system in place for them. In case somebody would come along and discover what it is that they're doing, there's a defense system set in place. Two of Strands. Two of Wands. The energy, they are testing even creepy and more horrifying things than they were before. I feel like they get bored and they have to move on to something else. Anything to, horrify the human race. Anything to hurt humans. Anything to, it just goes on and on and on. Have you ever wondered, and this is just my own wondering, have you ever wondered why wars are fought by basically children? Those who haven't lived a life yet, when we're not the ones who start the wars. The two people in the ring that start the war, the presidents of countries or whoever they are that start the war, they're the ones who should be duking it out. But instead, since this started all out about, trying to get energy, what better way to get energy for fear and anger, chaotic energy? What better way than to send everyone but them to war? Okay, so number 11. Where did the power behind these phenomena originate? So is what goes on, the things that they've discovered paranormally, the things that can be done, such as telepathy and the remote viewing and things like what 11 can do with telekinesis and, psychokinesis, all that stuff. Where does that power come from? It says for love of the game. And the line in here is clear the mechanism. So I'm going to say it's coming from the mind. Coming from a clear mind. Coming from fear. Fear and manipulation. Again, thinking about 11 when she gets afraid. Ghost. Coming from human loss. And some of the power may also be coming from beyond the veil, from past loved ones. Turn, turn, turn. I'm going to say the change of the seasons can affect the phenomena. Hand-me-down world. Yes, the way of the world. The things that are happening in the world can certainly do it. Hunger Games. Gorillas in the Mist. I think with Hunger Games, this is the missing people. Okay? These are all things that affect our emotions, our energy, our frequency. If we clear the mechanism, we can tap into many of these, even if we don't want to. Over here, we have Gorillas in the Mist. These gorillas, it's the horror that people do to other living creatures, okay? These are all things with a clear mind we can tap into that can turn into some kind of psychic phenomena. If you sat somebody down in front of a screen and you fed them all of these emotions in different images, different visuals, that and then ask them to focus their energy on something specific, eventually their mind is going to create that electrical charge and do something. So let's see what Tarot has to share. 5 of Pentacles. Yes, it's to focus, clear the mechanism, and then focus on all the horrors of the world. The Emperor. Yep, this guy's in charge. And whoever he is, he could be, one of the non-human beings or whatever, but he knows how to play the game of fear. 3 of Spokes or 3 of Cups. It is the celebration of those we've lost, being connected back up emotionally with those we've lost. The 8 of Strands or 8 of Wands. Seasons fly by very, very quickly. Emotions change very quickly as the seasons fly by. 9 of Scoops. 9 of Pentacles. The planet is not in great shape. The energy of the planet, the energy of that, the broken systems and the state of the planet is all, it's a dynamic energy that is hard to swallow. But it creates an energy within, almost like a boiling energy. If you have a love for humanity and Earth. Queen of Strands or Queen of Wands. Yeah, it is survival of the fittest here. If you care, you may survive. And Justice. Finding justice. This can create a huge, passionate response that is considered justice. So in other words, Diane Fossey went in to live with the guerrillas because she wanted to try and stop the poaching. She wanted to bring justice to those animals. It was a very passionate cause. So I mean, if they had to pull electricity from her, or that's what they were trying to do, holy moly. She was one passionate individual. All of these things can create that kind of passion, that kind of electricity, that kind of frequency. So it's emotion. Emotion is what is behind the original phenomenon or phenomena. Before humans and emotion, I don't know. All right, moving on to question 12 here. What aspect of government paranormal narrative is purely fiction or inflated? Whoa. Okay, so what have they really told us stories about that's never been true concerning the paranormal? That it's not scary. Or that they're not doing horrifying experiments. That's probably more. That's definitely fiction. Oh, and that they haven't caused any of the problems in the world. Another fiction. That they have not created the upside down, like in Stranger Things. That they've not ever been to the upside down or created something just like it. Visited someplace just like it. Going my way. That we are free to live our lives whatever way we wish. And that may seem kind of crazy with, again, we're talking about frequency and energies and fear and things like that. Things that Eleven used in Stranger Things to push her power, okay? So they're saying they don't do any kind of horrifying experiments on anybody, and it isn't their fault that the world is in the place that it is, and that they've never seen anything like upside down in Stranger Things, and that they let us just live our lives, la-di-da, when in fact they are taking care of business all the time. Top of the world. There's Hunger Games again. So yeah, they're messing with our frequencies all the time. If they've said that's not the case, then they are definitely not telling us the truth, and this is what it's all about. It is survival of the fittest. Whatever games that they can play with us, they do. Allegedly. So, you know, anything that they've told us concerning, oh, we don't mess with your frequency and you're free and you're free to have whatever emotions you want and so on. Yeah, that's all fiction. So let's see what Tarot has to add. Temperance. Oh no, we're very balanced individuals. We would never do anything like that to you, ever. Six of Strands or Six of Wands. Yeah, we should be recognized for bringing good energy into the world. That's what we do. Knight of Strands or Knight of Wands. We don't have a problem taking a risk. If we want to put arsenic on this pizza and feed it to you, we don't have a problem with that. Two of Strands, Two of Wands. We can push you through any gateway we wish. We are very justified in doing the things that we do. You just don't need to know what we're doing. You're too simple. We can play with your frequencies all we want. You're too simple. King of Swords or King of Dice. We have the power of your mind. Yeah, okay. So we know a lot of what we're told. Most of what we're told is fiction, allegedly. Especially if, you know, the words are said, well, we're all in it together and we're doing it for the good of humanity. If it's coming from the privileged, you know that it is fiction. All right. On 13. So we have two left. 13 and 14. Oop. They just don't want to stay. They want to slide clear over. You can't see that one because of me, but it wants to slide like that one did. Okay, so question 13. What element of the conspiracy is disturbingly real and still concealed? What element of the conspiracy is disturbingly real and still concealed? How many times they've ended the world? Or their plan to end the world? And to make slaves out of all of us. or to work us until we are able to do this. Since we're looking at what element of the conspiracy is disturbingly real and still concealed. Yep. Finding our powers, making them dangerous. Sister Act, pretending that none of it exists. None of it. There is no such thing going on. Nope. Nope. We're good, God-fearing people. Black and White, Back to the Future, and War of the Worlds. This is part of the racial complexities that go on our planet. This is all part of the plan. It's because, again, we're on frequency, we're on emotion, right? So one of the main things is to pit one another against one another. That's so powerful for them. And they've tried it many different ways. Many different ways. They can time travel. Have no doubt on that. They can time travel, and they create it one way, doesn't work, they go back, create it again. So in other words, like I said, I think they've destroyed the world a good number of times, but they can recreate it, come back and recreate it. I feel as though they really are working towards, I'm going to say, a war of the worlds. I feel like they need soldiers in a war against other planets for some reason. And that is maybe what we are being groomed for. High Priestess. Yeah, there's a lot of secrets behind that curtain. A lot of secrets we know nothing about. Five of Strands or Five of Wands. Chaotic energy, working us very, very hard, working our minds very, very hard, doing things to us that create this kind of crazy energy that can light up a world. Maybe with that kind of power, maybe we can destroy other worlds too. Nine of Dice or Nine of Swords. Dangerous energy that we should definitely be worried about. Creating that kind of dangerous energy. Nine of Spokes or Nine of Cups. Yes, we're loving individuals. We want nothing but the best for you. That is the energy we are giving off. Remember, this is the privilege that are saying this. Queen of Strands or Queen of Wands. The way to combat this is to care, truly care about fellow man, no matter what race. And put that out there. Put that energy out there. That is not what they want. The Chariot, yep, they've been playing with this for quite a while. Playing with it for quite a while. Yeah, I feel like they are doing the best that they can to make sure that we are capable of destroying other worlds and, of course, destroying our own. That is kind of the secret, that the reason they want to be able to control all of this energy from us, all this chaotic emotion from us. So we have one more question in this Stranger Things episode 6. And my Chihuahua has just come down from his chair. You can probably hear the snoring happening, or the stretching, or the, I'm in here now, Mom. Can you hear me? All right. So the last question here. To what extent is the government's involvement in paranormal research fact or fiction? Now, the last question was, what element of the conspiracy is disturbingly real and still concealed? This is, are they really involved at all or not? Is it all them? Is it only partially them? It's all them. If you remember from the movie Hunger Games, the privileged, yeah, they were the ones doing everything, controlling everything, doing all the things to the people. Independence Day, creating the fear. Oop. There, boy, these cards are coming up, even though they're put in different piles, they're coming up in all over the place. I'm going to say, well, creating the fear with Independence Day, and creating ghosts is a possibility here. Mother and child reunion. I believe they also have the some way to keep those who pass on from having that reunion in heaven or beyond the veil. I think they can create ghosts by not letting them go through. Suspicion. Lucky. Transformation. They know that we're suspicious. Every once in a while, somebody gets lucky enough to hit on something that could totally spill the beans, totally disrupt the whole flow of all of this. But they never get the opportunity. They are suddenly transformed, if you get my drift. All right, so let's see what tarot has to add. So yeah, it's all fact. The Magician, yep, all fact and made to look like illusion, trickery. King of Spokes, King of Cups. Yeah, using the power, the literal power of emotion, which could also very much be, now that I think about it, the power of emotion, especially fear, can manifest things. And we have the Magician over here too. So, if they want an alien invasion, they can just let us make it happen. They can blame it on us because it's our emotion, our thought forms, that kind of thing, that can bring it into fruition. Nine of Swords. I do believe they can keep the souls from entering beyond the veil where they need to go, where they would be happy, where it would be sunny. They cannot get there. They need that power here too, for some reason. Knight of Spokes, Knight of Cups. They're saying, no, 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 don't be suspicious. Be loving and caring. But I'm saying use your active intuition. Follow it, because there's a reason to be suspicious. King of Dice or King of Swords. Yep, every once in a while somebody really breaks into everything that's going on. Their mind really catches it. And then Three of Spokes, Three of Cups. They are transformed, and the transformation may not be necessarily being non-alived. It may very well be just removing the thoughts, removing the memories from the mind. And then all that's left is, oh, I'm happy, let's celebrate. Let's just celebrate because it's such a wonderful, wonderful world, a wonderful day. Yeah, making them very simplistic, very simple in the emotion department. All right, so that is it for Stranger Things, episode 6. I'm going to give you a teaser for episode 7. We just uncovered chilling truths about real government experiments, psychic kids, and the secrets hidden in plain sight. But what if the most powerful connection to the unknown isn't in our lab? It's in our living rooms. In episode 7, we explore whether children are naturally more open to the paranormal. Are they sensing what we've learned to ignore? Join me next time as we dive into the world of psychic children and what their gifts might reveal. Also on the screen is the show schedule. As you can see, I do 3 shows each week. So if you like Stranger Things, maybe you will also like the other 2. Take a look at those if you are so inclined. And with that said, this is it for this episode. I will see you again next week. I do hope you've made it to the end, and I thank you so much for being here. But until next week, have a great one. Take care.